Back in the day, Wesley Snipes was the man in Hollywood, pulling in almost $10 million for a single movie. But then, something went south for him. Suddenly, directors weren't interested, studios ghosted him, and his co-stars? They didn't have a single nice thing to say about him in interviews. It seems like everyone thought Wesley was trouble from the start. But here's where Snipes flips the script. He says his career hit the rocks not because of him, but because of others. According to Snipes, he got the boot for stepping on the wrong toes. And you know what? He's not the only black actor who feels this way. So, what's really going on? Was Wesley Snipes actually blacklisted by Hollywood? And if so, why? Let's dive into it. Wesley's pretty well known, He really made a splash when he scored the role of Willie Mays Hayes in that baseball classic everyone loves, Major League. And just like that, he was on a roll in Hollywood, snagging parts in movies like Passenger and White Men Can't Jump. But it looks like not everyone was cheering for the actor to hit it big. Just when he was starting to make a name for himself in the industry, Wesley found himself in hot water with the law. And it wasn't even his fault. Picture this. Back in 1991, he's just cruising through the streets of Los Angeles, minding his own business, when suddenly, the cops pulled him over and had him lying face down on the pavement. Next thing he knows, he's handcuffed, with one officer pressing a knee on his neck and another pointing a gun at his head. So, here's the scoop. Wesley was totally puzzled by what was going down. He was clueless about the whole mess, and to top it off, the cops weren't giving him any answers. It's not like he was speeding or anything, but here's the kicker. After all the confusion cleared up, it turned out Wesley had just picked an older model Mustang to drive home from the movies that night. The thing is, someone from the staff didn't know Wesley had borrowed the car and reported it stolen. And just like that, our guy ends up in handcuffs. Needless to say, he was far from thrilled. So, after Wesley got out, he talked about how the whole thing was super embarrassing. He straight up said the cops were discriminating against him because of his race. But get this, some people think the whole drama might have been set up just to mess with Wesley. Even though those claims never really stuck, Snipes definitely learned a thing or two from the ordeal that he could use later on. So, Wesley's career was a bit of a roller coaster, right? Then, in 2005, he made this huge move by suing New Line Cinema and David S. Goyer, the director he worked with on Blade Trinity. He probably thought this movie was going to be a highlight of his career, but it ended up being anything but. Wesley Snipes had some beef with Goyer and really didn't want to work with him from the start. But get this, 6 weeks before they were supposed to start filming, Wesley shows up on set. Talk about a contract drama that Wesley was not cool with at all. And guess what? He hadn't even given the thumbs up to the script, but the directors just went ahead with it anyway. Wesley felt like the movie was giving more limelight to the supporting white characters, and he saw it as a sneaky move to take the Blade franchise away from him. On top of that, he mentioned that Goyer threw some racist comments about how professional he was and didn't do anything about a crew member who showed up in a racist t-shirt. Talk about tension on set, right? So, Wesley had to deal with some really tough work conditions. His buddy, Michael Jai White, who popped by the set one time, saw it all go down. He thinks it was a mix of frustrations. Picture this, it's like they were trying to snatch Blade right out of Wesley's hands. Can you believe that? He also told fans to check out the movie poster because it had a clue. When everything started blowing up in public, fans were quick to call out the studio for messing with a respected actor like that. But the folks at New Line Cinema knew what they were doing. They didn't waste a moment to throw shade at Wesley. Not long after, there were whispers about Snipes being difficult on set. Patton Oswalt, the comedian, didn't hold back talking about how things were heating up between the actor and the director. So, it turns out Wesley had been trying to get Goyer to leave the movie multiple times. Oswalt mentioned that eventually Wesley would only talk to the director through post-it notes. Things even escalated to the point where Wesley supposedly grabbed the director by the throat, if you can believe that. In an interview with The Guardian, Wesley Snipes addressed the allegations head-on. He made a compelling point, suggesting that if he had really tried to strangle David Goyer, the situation would have likely landed him in jail, especially considering the stereotypes surrounding a muscular black man in such a scenario. Snipes highlighted this as an example of the challenges African Americans face, including microaggressions and the tendency for people to automatically accept a white person's account of events over a black person's. His defense sheds light on broader issues of racial bias and the quickness to pin blame based on prejudice. You know, when there are rumors flying around, it's super easy for future employers to just ignore you. Nobody wants to deal with someone who's a pain on set. In Hollywood, your reputation is your currency. And let's just say Snipes' rep was in tatters. So, back in 2019, Warner Bros. Dropped this bombshell that they were rebooting the 90s action flick, New Jack City, right? That movie was a big deal for Wesley's career back in the day. He was Nino Brown, this iconic New York lord. Given how huge the first film was for Wesley, you'd think he'd jump at the chance to be in the reboot, but guess what? Completely opposite. Wesley was like, nope, not interested. Totally shocked the fans. During an interview with Shadow and Axe where Brooke Obie talked to Wesley Snipes about his new movie, Dolomite Is My Name, Snipes made it clear he had no involvement with a particular project they discussed. He emphasized his distance by mentioning he outright refused any association, joking about how rich he'd be if he got a dime for every refusal. The reason Snipes opted out? He shared his thoughts quite openly. In his view, certain things, especially if they were successful in their time due to specific circumstances and context, should be left as they are. He expressed a strong dislike for revisiting the culture in films, questioning the value of such portrayals. Essentially, Snipes believes that the film in question casts black actors in negative stereotypes, and he firmly decided to steer clear from being part of it. So, Wesley saying no to the reboot, especially with upper management pushing so hard, probably annoyed quite a few people. But you know, Wesley isn't the first to talk about the problem with negative black stereotypes in movies. Over the years, a lot of actors have spoken up about how unfairly black actors are treated by the big shots in Hollywood. And you know what? Some black actors who just go along with it, unlike Wesley Snipes who doesn't, are actually adding to the problem. Like, take Tyler Perry, for example. He's gotten a lot of flack for playing by Hollywood's rules and kind of leaving his community behind. So, back in the day, Chris Rock really shook things up in the entertainment world with his comments on Tyler Perry's films. He kind of threw a playful jab at Tyler for how his movies portrayed black stereotypes. Imagine Chris Rock suggested that if Tupac were still around, there's a chance he might have ended up in one of Tyler Perry's movies. And not just any role, but as the stereotypical bad dark-skinned boyfriend. It's a bit of a wild thought, right? Chris Rock was really digging into the common themes you see in Tyler Perry's movies. There's usually this pattern where the woman is stuck in a terrible relationship with a darker-skinned guy who's just the worst. Then along comes a lighter-skinned hero to save the day. According to Rock, this kind of storyline isn't just a one-off, it's a trend in Perry's films. So, through this lens, Rock's comment about Tupac potentially being the villain in a Tyler Perry movie doesn't seem so far-fetched. It's a humorous yet sharp critique of the recurring themes in Perry's work. What do you guys think? Drop your thoughts in the comments and make sure to catch the next video.